Ter Stegen made his comeback for Barcelona after 7 months out, against, of all teams, the weakest side in La Liga this season. And just 6 minutes in, he conceded. But was it really his fault? Over at Bayern, something almost too perfect happened. Title-cursed Harry Kane stepped onto the pitch to celebrate his first ever trophy. You can probably guess the punchline. And in the Premier League, we might have uncovered the real reason behind Manchester City's struggles this season. Something no one's really been talking about. Congratulations, you found the only YouTube channel that summarizes all the key results and highlights from the big 5 leagues in just under 10 minutes each week. If you don't want to miss out, consider to subscribe. Enjoy the video. Winning the league title, a small step for Bayern, but a giant leap for Harry Kane. With just 1 win over RB Leipzig, Kane's legendary title drought would finally end. In true Kane fashion though, he'd already picked up a suspension and could only watch from the stands. And then, disaster. Leipzig struck first with a cold finish from Sesko and added a second before halftime. But Bayern clawed back with 2 goals in 2 minutes. Dyer and Odyssey on the score sheet, before Sané, who has really found his form again in the second half of the season, embraced the power of friendship and fired a brilliant strike to break Kane's curse. But, of course, Kane made the fatal error of stepping onto the pitch early to celebrate, promptly jinxing his team. Leipzig's Poulsen punished them with a 94th minute equalizer. Leverkusen, apparently unable to watch Kane suffer any longer, decided to only draw their game against Freiburg, with late goals from Wirtz and Tah, still enough to hand Kane his long-awaited trophy, though without the celebration he'd hoped for. Meanwhile, Dortmund, finally clicking under the new coach, trashed Wolfsburg 4-0 with braces from both Girassi and Adeyemi. Somehow, they've turned their season around and now sit just 1 point away from Champions League qualification. And last but not least, St. Pauli's keeper, after a solid game against Stuttgart, got himself sent off in comedic fashion right after receiving a yellow card. St. Pauli lost 1-0, courtesy to an earlier goal from Messi. Serie A has been by far the most competitive league this season. Not just the fight for international spots, but for the title itself. After this match day though, the title race may be all but settled. Both contenders scraped narrow 1-0 wins. Inter threw a penalty against Verona. Napoli thanks to a respiratory free kick against Lecce. With 3 games left and a 3-point gap, Inter defending a league title is still in reach, on paper at least. But looking at the remaining fixtures, Napoli's marked in red, Inter's in blue, they will need nothing short of a miracle. Meanwhile, Atalanta demolished bottom dwellers Monza 4-0, setting several records. For Monza, it's their first ever 6-game losing streak. Though, to be fair, 3 of these losses came against Atalanta, Napoli and Juventus. Retegui provided 2 assists, making him Atalanta's leader in goal contribution since assist stats have been tracked. Atalanta also secured the top spot for most away points this season, tied only by Barcelona. Roma edged past Fiorentina 1-0. Juventus, despite an early Thuram goal, couldn't hold on to their lead and settled for a 5th straight draw against Bologna. Lazio, on the other hand, scored after just 54 seconds against Empoli, and unlike Juve, managed to keep a clean sheet for a 1-0 finish in a match that saw red cards on both sides. First, Atletico stumbled to a 0-0 draw against mid-table Alaves, leaving the door wide open for Barcelona to stretch the gap to 12 points the next day. Barca faced bottom dwellers Valladolid, who were already on a 7-game losing streak. In a move reminiscent of a classic Company, Hansi Flick rested almost all his stars, and brought back Ter Stegen after 7 months out. It wasn't exactly a dream return. In the 6th minute, an Ivan Sanchez shot deflected heavily off Araujo, looping comically over a helpless, visibly frustrated Ter Stegen. Flick wisely decided not to tempt fate, sent on his regulars for the second half, and goals from Rafinha and Lopez secured both the win in Valladolid's 8th straight defeat, a club record, sealing their relegation. Meanwhile, Arda Güler opened the scoring for Real Madrid with an absolute stunner. Mbappé added a brace, and despite 2 second-half goals, Celta Vigo couldn't claw back against Los Blancos. Finally, Real Betis trailed Espanyol until the 85th minute when Celso equalized. But a draw wasn't enough for the GOAT Anthony, who sealed it with a brilliant stoppage time winner for a 2-1 comeback victory. With the same number of games left as separating the top clubs, and the bottom club racking up a historic losing streak, La Liga's matchday mirrored Serie A's in more ways than one. After PSG speedran their league title, going unbeaten all season, they've apparently switched careers, now playing charity? Last week, they lost their perfect record against Nice. This week, their record streak of 38 unbeaten away games was snapped in a 2-1 loss to Strasbourg. Still, they set a new European benchmark. Elsewhere, second place Marseille faced third place Ligue. With that match ending in a draw, Ligue were overtaken not only by Monaco, who beat Saint-Étienne 3-1, but also by the aforementioned Strasbourg. The Ligue 1 title race might be a one-horse show, but wow, the fight for international spots? It is still wide open with just 2 games to go. Over in England, another confirmed champion was caught slacking. After 4 winless years, Chelsea finally managed to beat the Reds. After 90 minutes, Van Dijk's lone goal stood against 3 from the Blues, including an early strike from Fernández and a penalty from Cole Palmer. Yes, even though Alisson guessed the right way. That penalty came courtesy of an unlucky Kanza, who had also scored an own goal earlier. On another note, Trent Alexander-Arnold is now confirmed to leave for Real Madrid this summer. In Manchester, Erling Haaland returned to the squad after 3 weeks out, but Guardiola left him on the bench, opting instead for his old partner in crime, Kevin De Bruyne, up front. And KDB showed he still got it, scoring in the 35th minute. City's struggles this season have sparked every theory. Pep's past it, the players lost hunger, over-reliance on Haaland. The competition's closing in, but honestly, it's simpler. City's glories always rested on great players, many now injured or past their prime. De Bruyne, who recently announced his departure, offered one last sharp reminder of that era with his goal in the 1-0 win. Staying in Manchester, the Red Devils found themselves trailing 1-4 against Brentford. Garnacho and Diallo added 2 late goals to soften humiliation, but with just 6 points under Amorim, United are sinking even deeper into crisis. And last but not least, Arsenal might not bother the league this season, but second place? Still very much on the line. A first half goal from Rice wasn't enough, as Bournemouth came back with 2 of their own in the second half. That's it for this week. Looking ahead, here are the top fixtures you shouldn't miss. In La Liga, Real Madrid get their 4th and final shot at winning an El Clasico this season, a match likely to decide the league title. In the Bundesliga, Dortmund will have to prove they deserve Champions League play, as they face second place Leverkusen. In Ligue 1, it's a spectacle of an emperor watching a helpless gladiator. Montpellier, winless in 12, must take on PSG. And in Serie A, several top clashes await. If you don't want to miss the results, highlights or inevitable drama, consider subscribing. We are still a small channel, always trying to improve, so if you leave a like or comment, it genuinely helps. And tell us, what's your prediction for El Clasico? Will Real finally break the streak and beat Barcelona? Or will they collect another fat L? Let us know in the comments. See you next week.